everybody and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different than my usual crochet tutorials. I'm going to be talking to you about yarn bombing. If you follow me on social media at all, you may have spotted that in this sort of lockdown quarantine time, I have been quietly yarn bombing my local area. So imagine my surprise when I was featured in the local paper, not once, but 2 weeks in a row. So I just wanted to show you this really quickly so you had a sort of general idea of what it is that I've been up to. So I have linked in the description box below to my Instagram account where you can see clear photos of every single one of my yarn bombs. So that is in the description box below. Anything I mention in this video, check that description box because I've popped all the links down there. So this was the first week I was featured when I was doing it quietly. Nobody knew it was me. So I was very shocked to spot this when I was sort of just bimbling along, and there I am on the front cover of the local paper. Anyway, someone dobbed me in very, very quickly. So the following week, I got a follow-up where I was revealed to be the mysterious yarn bomber, which is, the whole thing is very funny really to me. It's been quite surprising to see myself in print, especially for doing something that I was trying to be anonymous about. Anyway, all this coverage and the pictures I've been popping up on my social media has led to a lot of you asking me questions about how to yarn bomb, what to do, the patterns, everything. So this video is to clearly go through all your questions and answers and hopefully give you a great sort of overall beginner's guide to yarn bombing should you be inspired to do it yourself. Now, obviously all my yarn bombs are already out in the wild, so I can't really show them in person here today. I am working on a couple of other little bits that is on my table, but I will try and pop in photos around the screen as I talk, so you're not just staring at my hands for the entire video. And I will try and go as quickly as possible because I don't want this to be a half-hour long ramble. Right, the question I've been asked the most. Why? Why have I done it? What is the point? So people yarn bomb for various reasons. Sometimes it's to make a political statement, sometimes it's to raise awareness for a cause, or more often than not, people like me are just doing it to raise a smile, really. When you're out and about and you see something bright, fun and unexpected, it makes me smile, hopefully it makes other people smile, and to be honest, the children have responded the best. So many kids absolutely love them. So that is why I have been doing it. Other people may have other agendas, but that is my answer to why. It's a very difficult question to answer. Okay, so how to yarn bomb. Number one, start small. You do not need to do great big vast projects to begin with. Start small to gain your confidence. You can start by yarn bombing your own garden. You don't have to go out there in the public. Your own garden, your own front door, hang something in the window perhaps. It doesn't need to be big or public. You can just start doing it in your own personal space. If you are feeling a bit more confident, the way I personally started was by doing the Random Acts of Crochet Kindness project. Now, I've linked to that video so you can find out all about that underneath, but all that is crocheting little flowers and leaving them out in public anonymously for other people to find. Just to brighten the day. So that's how I started to gain confidence, just by doing little yarn bomb drops of small crochet flowers. It doesn't need to be big. All right, so you kind of want to try doing it outside, going out in the wild. So identify your target. What is it that you want to yarn bomb? Is it a lamppost, a bit of broken fence, or like I did, the local care home or the local hospital? Something like that. Identify your target. Then measure your target. So if it is a lamppost, you want to measure the diameter of the lamppost. If it is, you want to string up a garland, measure the width so that you know how big to make your project. Whatever the width of your sort of target that you want to yarn bomb, make your piece knit, crochet, whatever it is you're doing, make it a couple of centimeters smaller than your target. You want to stretch your yarn bomb. That helps provide extra grip. You don't want it too loose because then it sags in the rain and it's a nightmare. It'll look tatty very quickly. So measure what it is you want to yarn bomb and make your piece slightly smaller. Now, personally, when it comes to identifying your target, I like to take industrial things, grotty lampposts, broken fences. I personally don't like yarn bombing a live thing like a tree unless it is very, very temporary and you're planning on taking it down very quickly afterwards. Some people like to do trees. Personally, I avoid anything that's living because I don't want to mess with the ecosystem of that little environment. So ideally, pick something industrial. The more grotty and rundown, the better your yarn bomb will look. So you've identified your target. Next thing, get permission. Get permission from whoever owns whatever it is you want to yarn bomb. For the care home that I yarn bombed first, I called them. They were quite happy for me to just do something on the railings out the front near their car park. They've since gone on to actively encourage other people to join in and contribute to it too. So it's been totally embraced. It looks amazing now. There's my original yarn bombs plus a whole load of other things that other people have made. It's brilliant. So get permission. If in doubt, get permission. Okay, you've identified your target. You've got permission to do it. Now to decide what. The world is your oyster. Now, you can do something small, like a little tiny crochet rainbow or a little square. It doesn't have to be big. My most popular yarn bombs have been my lamppost animals. Now, I'll be popping up some photos on screen, so to sort of scroll through them. How those are made is I just make a rectangular piece of just half double crochet stitches, just a flat rectangle. I then have just freestyled really simple shapes. Eyes are just circles, sewn them on, and then I have sort of almost like a blank coffee cozy, which you can then sew up at the back. If you are crocheting something like that is going to go around something, I've done granny stripe, for instance, just to go around a lamppost. That looked very pretty too. Leave a very, very long tail before you start because you can use that to sew it up later. It doesn't have to be crochet though. My favorite thing I've done is actually a pom-pom garland. You don't need any skill to make a pom-pom. Or what I'm currently working on at the moment is just a really simple tassel garland. I've left links to all these tutorials in the description box below. I also am currently working on just a little flower garland. Garlands are great. You can string them up and hang like a traditional garland, or you can wrap them around like a lamppost or fence post or something. You can wrap them too. So garlands are great. They're super simple, but very, very effective. So the world is your oyster. A yarn bomb simply involves yarn. It doesn't have to be crochet. You can knit whatever you want. The only limit is your imagination. Okay, you've got your yarn bombs. You are ready. You have completed your items. You're ready to install, which leads me to the next question. What time of day do you put them up? When to actually install? So I first started by doing mine at nighttime under the cover of darkness. Now, everything has its pros and cons. What I found about doing it at nighttime was, unless you've taken a torch with you, which of course I didn't because I'm not organized, it's dark. It's really difficult to see when you're stitching pieces up. It's really difficult to see what you're doing. And doing it at nighttime, I felt a little bit vulnerable and a lot like a criminal, sort of skulking around in the shadows. So nighttime is an option if you're feeling brave. If you do it early morning, there are less people around, or the people that are around, they're busy going somewhere. If it's 6 in the morning, they're obviously going to work or something. So early morning's quite a good one if you want to be able to see what you're doing, but not have to talk to people. I've graduated to just doing it during the day, purely because that's easier for me. I'm not a morning person, so daytime it is. Now, I'm a very socially awkward person. I am not good at having total strangers come and chat to me merrily in the street. So I get why people can be put off by doing it during the day. Now, in my experience, yes, people will want to talk to you, but those people that want to talk to you are genuinely interested in what you're doing. So they're nice people to talk to. So the more people that talk to you, kind of desensitize yourself to it. But if you just focus on what you're doing and look busy, which is what I do, 99% of people just ignore you. They don't care what you're doing. So I have just sort of graduated from nighttime through morning to now I just do it in the day. It doesn't matter. And I've also found that in the daytime, you can see what you're doing. You can do it a lot faster and just get out of there. So I'm a daytime person now. So what materials are you going to need to actually install your yarn bombs? Now, I always take my tape measure with me because you never know when you're installing one, you might spot another place where you want to do a yarn bomb close by or on your way to it. So I always have a little tape measure handy. You're going to want scissors. You're going to want a needle. You're going to either use the tails you've left on your work to sew it up, but it's handy to take some extra yarn with you. So just make sure you've got some extra yarn with you. It might make sense to also take a crochet hook as well, just in case you've got to extend a piece or shorten it or something, or do a bit of crochet on the fly. Now, my most valuable tools are my cable ties. I've got two separate sizes. I have big, long ones. These are great for lamp posts and sort of bigger objects. And then I have these tiny little diddy ones, which are great for just a little bit of extra security, which segues neatly into the actual installation itself. So, several things about installation. First one, it takes longer than you think. So allow enough time. To sew on one of my lamppost animals, which is a very simple rectangle, I'm just sewing it up the back with just a really quick whip stitch. Still takes me about 20 minutes, half an hour, so allow time. It also might make sense to take a friend, because then you've got someone to keep an eye on your back or watch your stuff as you're sewing things up. Now, I've been installing mine in a very quiet residential area, so I haven't needed to take anyone with me. But if I was doing them in the center of my town, for instance, I would definitely want an extra body and an extra pair of hands and an extra pair of eyes to help me out. Now, for installing them, if it is like a lamp post animal or something like that you've done in a big rectangle, I simply whip stitch. I just do a really, I don't even know if that's the official type of stitch. I'd like to call it a whip stitch. It might just be some sort of rubbish running stitch, but just stitch them together. You don't need to worry too much. Now, when you are stitching, hopefully you have made your yarn bombs a couple of centimeters smaller than the object, so you will stretch them. It might make sense if it's a big long piece to take some bobby pins or clips just to hold it together at various points up the post. But you just sort of hold them together and sew. Pull your stitches tight because it certainly helps with the grip. Now, cable ties I use as an extra layer of security. Now, I'll be popping in a picture so you can see the cable tie running through the top of one of my lamppost animals. So what I do is I sew it on and then I thread a cable tie through my stitches and secure it at the top. Now, the reason I do that is no matter how tight your stitch is, when it rains, it will sag and get heavy and sort of sag down. Having this cable tie keeps it in place. It also has the added benefit of it's less likely or less easy to get stolen. So it's just an extra layer of security, really. I like to use these cable ties to secure them on. And the same with when I'm hanging a garland. Where I want this up point, you know, when you hang it sort of like a bow, using these little skinny ones helps secure these in place. So optional, but quite frankly, I couldn't live without my cable ties. Okay, so the final thing with your yarn bombs, and what I think is the most important of everything, you need to let it go. You spent all this time and energy on your yarn bomb, you've lovingly put it up, and you are waiting for the world to enjoy it. Now, be aware, there are people that will just steal it, vandalize it, try and set it on fire, cut it down. There are people that just won't like it, and there are people out there that will just mess with it just because they can. You need to let that go. When you put out a yarn bomb in the wild, brace yourself. It might not be there the next day. And that's okay. If somebody has loved it enough to take it home with them, let them. If somebody is sort of bored enough that they've got nothing better to do than try and set fire to one, let them. You can always make another one. Yarn bombs are not permanent. They will be taken down at some point, either by you or by someone else. The other highly important thing, possibly actually even more important than just learning to let your yarn bombs go, is regularly check them and repair or remove them if needed. They won't last forever, no matter how well you sew it on, or no matter how well loved it is by the community and nobody touches it. Eventually, the weather and just the environment is going to get to it. Nobody wants to see a sad, tatty, ratty looking yarn bomb hanging up outside their house. So make sure that you regularly check on your yarn bombs, repair them if needs be, and ultimately remove them again. That's the best way. Keep them fresh, keep them changing, and don't let them have chance to be gross and horrible, because nobody wants to see that. So I hope this video and all the photos that I've been showing have maybe inspired you to do something in your area, even if it is just one tiny little random act of crochet kindness. You might make somebody else smile, and ultimately the world needs smiles right now and a bit of positivity at any time, but particularly now. So I thoroughly encourage you to do a little yarn bomb, make a pom-pom, leave it on someone's door, do something nice for somebody else, and maybe we can make the world a slightly better place, one yarn bomb at a time, at the risk of sounding like a total hippie. Anyway, I'm rambling now. I'm gonna go. I've got more yarn bombs to make and I have lots of installation to go. So I will see you again very soon. Bye.